I had been counting down the days to my daughter Amelia's baby shower like a child waiting for Christmas. After years of silence between us, she had finally extended an invitation, and though it came more like an obligation than an olive branch, I held onto it like a lifeline. I had picked out a soft blue sweater dress from the thrift shop downtown, ironed it carefully, and even got my hair curled at the local salon with my pension money. I may not have looked glamorous, but I felt like a mother again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video. When I walked into the venue, a fancy glittering hall rented out in the nicest part of town, I knew I was out of place. Everyone wore high heels and designer shades. I clutched the hand-knitted baby blanket I'd made, wrapped in tissue paper and tied with a faded pink ribbon. I spotted Amelia across the room in a flowing white maternity gown, her friends buzzing around her like bees around sugar. Her eyes caught mine. I waved. She didn't wave back. Instead, she whispered something to her friend, who burst into laughter. The laughter spread like wildfire. A few heads turned in my direction and then turned back, chuckling. My heart thudded. I walked closer, unsure, hopeful. Maybe she was just surprised to see me. Maybe she didn't recognize me after all these years. But when I reached her, Amelia didn't smile. She wrinkled her nose, took a step back, and said loud enough for half the room to hear, "Why are you even here dressed like that? You look like a homeless woman." The room went silent. My ears burned. I stood frozen, holding out the baby blanket like some kind of cursed object. Amelia didn't even look at it. She gestured to one of the staff and muttered, "Can someone escort her out, please?" The young server hesitated. "Ma'am?" he said gently to me. I looked at my daughter, my only child, the one I raised alone after her father left us, the one I worked double shifts for, skipped meals for, borrowed money for when she needed braces and textbooks. The one who used to fall asleep curled up next to me as I told her fairy tales. I didn't argue. I simply nodded and turned around as the snickering resumed behind me. My shoes made an awkward squeak on the marble floors. I kept my head high, but I could feel the tears threatening to fall. I clutched the baby blanket to my chest like it was my own broken heart. Outside, I sat on the curb as Ubers pulled up with more guests. One woman stepped out, gave me a disgusted look, and walked past. I stayed there, not moving. Eventually, I folded the blanket carefully and placed it on the stone wall outside the entrance, with a note tucked under the ribbon. Then I walked away. But what Amelia didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had something else in my purse. A folded document. Something that would change everything. Because Amelia was right. I had looked like a homeless woman, but she had no idea who I really was anymore, or what kind of gift I had come to give. I didn't go home after Amelia's baby shower. I didn't even go back to the modest room I rented above the bakery downtown. I went straight to the lawyer's office. "Are you sure?" Mr. Garrison asked, frowning slightly as he glanced over the old will in front of him, and then at the one I had just slid across the table, freshly printed, recently signed, and perfectly legal. "I'm absolutely sure," I said, voice steady. "I want her removed from everything, every cent, every property, every asset tied to my name. She's out." He sighed but didn't argue. "And the new beneficiary?" I nodded. "The woman who saved me from sleeping in the rain 5 years ago, the one who shared her own home when my own daughter wouldn't return my calls." He tapped his pen once on the desk. "You're referring to Miss Eleanor Reyes?" "Yes, Ellie, the one who sat by my hospital bed when I had pneumonia, the one who brought me soup every day and called me Mama without needing blood ties to justify it." Mr. Garrison nodded solemnly. "Understood." I left the office with a strange calmness in my chest. Not joy, not revenge, just clarity. For years, I had justified Amelia's coldness. I told myself she was busy, she was growing, she was stressed. I blamed myself. Maybe I hadn't raised her right. Maybe I was too strict, too lenient, too poor. But now I knew that I didn't owe her my silence anymore. The next few days, I disappeared from the life Amelia barely allowed me to be in. No texts, no calls, not even a message when I saw the photos posted online. her baby shower in full bloom, the designer gifts stacked high, the towering cake, the caption, "The most perfect day with my perfect people." No mention of the woman who gave her life. But fate, I've learned, is not without a sense of irony. A week later, I got a call, not from Amelia, of course, but from the hospital. She had gone into early labor, complications. The father of the child was too stressed to deal with it, as one nurse muttered in disbelief. So guess who they contacted? They knew I was her emergency contact. She had never changed it. When I arrived at the hospital, Amelia was unconscious, pale, weak. Her friends had come and gone already. Her partner hadn't even shown up. And in her quiet, unguarded state, something strange happened. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt sorrow. I sat by her side for hours. I watched her fingers twitch and her breath shift. I watched the rise and fall of the daughter I once knew. And when she finally opened her eyes, she blinked at me in confusion. "Mom?" she whispered, disoriented. I nodded, brushing a hand gently across her forehead. But just as quickly, the moment evaporated. "What are you doing here?" she snapped, trying to sit up but wincing in pain. "They called me," I said softly. "They thought you'd need someone." "I don't," she replied coldly. "I already told you, you're not part of my life anymore." And that was the end of it. I stood, calm, dignified. I looked at the daughter who had once clung to my hand on the first day of school, and now stared through me like I was a stain on her perfect life. "I know," I said. "I just needed to hear it one last time, to make sure I did the right thing." Then I turned and walked out. She didn't know what I meant, but she would, very soon. 3 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Amelia, not even when she was discharged from the hospital. Not when the baby was finally brought home, not even a simple text saying, "We're okay." I wasn't surprised, but I did feel it, a quiet ache under my ribs, like a bruise that kept getting pressed. I had once imagined being there when my grandchild was born. I thought I'd knit tiny sweaters, sing lullabies, pass down stories and lullabies and love. Instead, I was erased before I ever had the chance. But then came the moment she finally reached out. Not with warmth, but with desperation. It started with a knock, not at my door, but at Ellie's. "Mrs. Carter?" she asked me gently, peering through the curtains. "There's a young woman outside, crying. Says she's your daughter." I didn't flinch. "Let her in." Amelia stood in the doorway, her hair messy, dark circles under her eyes, holding a baby in one arm and a crumpled envelope in the other. She looked smaller than I remembered. Younger somehow, and broken in a way that no amount of makeup or filters could hide. "I need your help," she said, without even a hello. She didn't offer an apology. No hug, no tears for what she'd said at the baby shower, just desperation. "Trevor left," she muttered, adjusting the baby awkwardly. "He said he couldn't handle the responsibility. I lost my job. The rent's behind. I tried calling you, but your number changed." Yes, it had. She held out the envelope. "It's the baby's birth certificate. I thought maybe if you saw his name, maybe you'd change your mind." I opened the envelope and glanced at the name. She'd named him after my late husband. For a second, I felt my knees falter. But I steadied myself. "Sit down," I said. She blinked in surprise. "You're not kicking me out?" "I'm not cruel," I answered. "But I'm not stupid either." Ellie brought tea. The baby cooed in Amelia's lap, and for a moment it almost looked like a family scene. 3 women across generations, linked by blood and history and the weight of decisions. "I don't have anywhere to go," Amelia whispered, finally breaking down. "I know what I said. I was cruel. I was stupid. But I'm your daughter." "Yes," I said quietly. "You are. And I raised you better than that." She stared at me, tears slipping down her cheeks now. "I don't want your money," she said. "I just want a second chance. I'll work. I'll do anything. Just help me get on my feet." And maybe in that moment, the mother in me wanted to say yes. But the woman I had become? She had a different answer. I already gave you a second chance, I said, gently but firmly, and a third and a fourth, but you slammed every door I opened for you. This isn't punishment, it's consequence. She stared at me, stunned. But I named him after Dad. I noticed, I said, but names don't buy back respect. I reached into a drawer and handed her a small envelope. Inside was a prepaid hotel room for 2 nights and a gift card for groceries. That's what I can give you, I said. Not because I owe you anything, but because I'll never turn away a baby. And then? She asked, her voice a whisper. Then you figure it out, I said. Like I did. Like every woman does when the world decides she's not worth space anymore. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I walked her to the door. She didn't say thank you. She didn't say sorry, but she did hold the baby just a little tighter, and as she disappeared down the sidewalk, I turned to Ellie. She'll survive, I said. Ellie nodded. And you? I smiled for the first time in weeks. I already did.